Good morning, everyone. This is Expand Your Creative Ideas. It's one of our Thought Salon presentations and coaching, and I'm really excited to share these concepts with you today. As people come on, we have people from kind of all over Ireland, San Francisco, Tucson, James Bay. So put in the chat where you're from, like the specific town or whatever you wish to share, because I really do like to see where people are from. And it's really, I love to know that there are artists all over the world that are making their work right now. So welcome. All right. So first, I will be sharing my screen and telling you everything we need to know for today. Let's see. Okay. All right. So welcome to Expand Your Creative Ideas the Four Hats Way. Now, some of you may know my teaching, The Four Hats of the Artist in Business, but I will do a very brief overview of that because it will apply to what we're talking about today. All right, but for today's presentation, what you will need basically is just an open mind, your journal and a pen. Now, there is a worksheet in the chat. It's just a one-pager. So you don't really need it right now, but you can if it's easy for you to click on shannonborg.com/ideas. You can download it. It's just one sheet, and I'll put that link in the chat as well. shannonborg.com/ideas. So if you don't want to print that out, you'll just use your journal today. Okay, so this is what the worksheet looks like. And it's a very simple worksheet. So we will be doing this together for our exercise about ideas and getting new ideas. But in the meantime, I will, you can just use your papers. Now I'm going to set my timer today because I want to make sure that I'm not going over. So that's what I'm doing there. All right. So for a couple of you who are going to watch the replay or are on right now who don't know me as well, I just wanted to introduce myself briefly again. I'm Shannon Borg. I'm an art and business coach. I have a program for artists to help to expand your creativity and also to develop your business and understand more about marketing and sales. Personally, my background is I'm a writer. I used to write for Seattle Magazine and other publications throughout the Northwest. I love the beach and I live on San Juan Island right now. I'm in the Midwest getting an MFA in painting at Southern Illinois University. And also I'm a certified life coach and I'm a certified Squarespace web designer. So I help people build websites. And also in my program, I have a class called Build Your Own Website on Squarespace, Build Your Own Art Website on Squarespace. So you can learn how to create your own website right within that. Okay, so, and my program is called Metaphor Mindset Studio. It is 6 months of one-on-one coaching with a 5-step process that helps you do all the things that you would need to do to create a business from your creativity and from your art. So we have the Art Business Circle community, which is growing. Now we have 17 members, and I post replays there. People post their art there, articles, etc. And it's a 6-month investment. So this is what the program is. It's 5 steps. The 5 steps are: artist, know thyself. Number 2, build belief and manage your mind. Number 3, understand your value. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And this has a lot to do with ideas and how you develop your own ideas, not only about your art, but about your business. And then the last 2 steps, build and communicate your value so you can share it with other people and know how to sell more easily and market your work more easily and decide what you want to do. And then, of course, in order to do all of that, you need to make offers, learn how to what an offer is, learn how to make offers, and then do what all of artists want to do in our lives is make impact in the world. Okay, so today, expand your creative ideas, the four hats way. All right, so the four hats are, all of the hats that we wear in any business, but especially in a creative business. We are first creators. That is this inner foundational work. Then we must take that outside of ourselves and lead ourselves to a certain extent. The leader hat is the one who makes the decisions, the big picture vision. The operator is all of the nuts and bolts, the finances, the systems, how to get paid, your website, and all of that. And then the promoter is how we get our work out into the world. And that is about educating others and understanding and making our value and making offers to others. So I've simplified this today because we're going to talk about the creator and the leader a little bit. All right, so and I want to point out that all of these hats that we wear, of course, sit on our head, which inside our head is our brain. And our brain is our best asset. This is our best tool. Okay, so we can't forget that as we put each of those hats on, what we're doing is lighting up a different part of our brain. Okay, so first I wanted to really kind of lead you through some of my ideation and some of my thought processes around how I've created certain things in my business. So that might spark in you some ideas. Okay, and I'm going to talk about ideas, idea creation. And one overarching concept that I've kind of built into my art and my business is this idea of the elements. The elements, we all know earth, air, fire, water. And then in the Chinese system, there's the idea of processes changing from one element or one state to another. And so they have two other ones, which are metal and wood. And so I've added those into my system here. And I think about it in terms of air as the mind, fire as the first sort of creativity, and then that metal is human-made creativity, things that get formed and formulated into the world. And so the air and mind and the fire and creativity and metal go kind of back and forth. Then out into the world, we have water and systems and the way things flow out into the world. And then the earth and wood. So the idea of making things real, making things out in the world, but also growing things out in the world. So I created all of these elements kind of together: earth, air, fire, water, metal, and wood. And then also with added the combination of some brain science here. One of my favorite neurologists that I read about, his name is V.S. Ramachandran. He teaches at UC San Diego, and he talks about the idea of the brain as being the left side and the right side. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, as the right side being the anomaly detector and the left side being the one that puts things in order. So of course this is switched because my right brain actually controls the left side of my body and my left brain controls the right side of my body. So it's very intertwined as a system. But in general, a lot of brain scientists have thought of different parts of the brain as the what path and the how path and the why path. Okay, so when our eyes see something, that's the what path. What is it? And then that information goes into our brain in other parts, and then we start to realize, like, where is it and why is it there and things like that. Okay, so I think of the creator element as fire, as what is it? I'm seeing the world and I'm responding to it. What am I making? What am I looking at? Then it goes into the mind, and the mind is all about why. Why am I doing this? What is my vision? Then the systems are how. How does this work? How can I make it work better? And then, of course, relationships are all about who. Who is in my community and who am I going to educate about my work? And then, of course, the brain has voice on one side. So the creative side of our brain, the right brain, actually does not have language. The language is developed in the other side. So this is sometimes why when you're painting, you don't have words. It's hard for you to sort of express something about your work or when you're in the creative state. So because that side of your brain does not develop language. It's the left-hand side that develops the language. So the inner self has no voice, right? It's the yin yang, it's the yin side. No voice, it's the inner. It's the no language side that just has these beautiful ideas. And then the outer part, or all light, the yang, has that voice. It's the language that goes out into the world. So to me, it's 6 colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet, and then also black and white that are the yin and yang that kind of hold that all together. So I think of this idea formation system that goes from the creator hat to the leader, then to the outer world of the operator and the promoter. So we're going to talk about the creator today. And of course, your best tool is your brain. This is a quote from one of my coaches, Brooke Castillo, and she has a fabulous podcast called the Life Coach School Podcast. I recommend it highly. She's done like 500 episodes, so start with episode 1. You have a beautiful, amazing brain in there. See what's possible when you create a nurturing, nourishing environment. See what it creates for you. That tool is yours. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It's the most priceless thing you have, and that is your brain. So when she says create an atmosphere, create an environment, this is why I have these strategies. 1, create an atmosphere. 2, make decisions. And then 3, walk your own particular path. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about with ideas and ideation and expanding your ideas, of course, is feeding your brain. I suggest highly that my clients or everyone reads literature, poetry in different areas: science, philosophy, natural history, physics, self-development, entrepreneurship, and creativity. Go to the library. Get 1 book a week. If you can't have a lot of time to read, just have it by your bed and poke through it a little bit before bed or when you wake up. Or I spend a little time every morning reading, and I want to show you a little bit of that process today. Also, art books are so important to understand what other artists have done, biographies, understand trends that are happening and themes that other people work with. Then I also suggest to feed your brain and your creativity to have an artist date. This is from The Artist's Way. If you haven't done The Artist's Way book, it is by Julia Cameron, and it is a 12-step process for creatives. So it's really for people who are trying to get creative again. It really changed my life and set me down the path of making art again at age 50. So it's changed my life. She suggests 2 things. 1, morning pages, where you write down all your thoughts in the morning. I write in my journal. I don't do that exact practice every day anymore, but I do write in my journal every day. And then the artist date, and that's 2 hours alone. No dog, no partner, no friend, going out and looking at the world, going to an art exhibit, going to a gallery, going into nature, taking your phone and taking pictures, doing, that artist date to really stimulate your art and be alone with yourself. Then keep a journal with your ideas, your drawings, your notes from what you're reading. So these are a few of the books that I have in my space right now. And there's, so many interesting books right now, such beautiful art books. Some are from the library. Some are books that I bought at garage sales and the library book sales, not expensive. And then, of course, I bought a few myself. Sometimes I can't resist. Books are my downfall as far as spending money goes. So this is my journal process. I have a journal, which is kind of always with me. And I use the same color of journal every month. And I fill about 10 of these a year. And then next year, we'll have a different color. So I have my journal with my coffee in the morning and I read. And this is sort of my experience in the morning. I really try to stay calm. I try to read. And I keep these note cards on books I read. This is called the Zettelkasten, or in German, a note box. And this system you can see in this book here, the Anti-Net Zettelkasten. I learned that from this book. It's a system of taking notes and keeping your notes so you can go back and forth. One thing I love is I write down quotes that I love, and I work it in my cards and in my journal. And I love this picture because it's a picture of my phone, the reflection of my phone in my coffee, which is kind of metaphorical for, looking into my life and capturing it, the ideas in my journal and in my cards. Okay, so today I'm going to share 3 ideas that came out of my journal process, came out of that 1 hour or 2 hours on a Saturday or whenever I can do it, that process that I've been doing every morning for years now. All of my ideas for my business has come out of this journaling and this reading process. So 1 is the creative flywheel, 2 is the green room, and 3 is the ripple meditation, or idea babies. So some of you may have seen the ripple meditation training in Thought Salon and done that before. I'm going to give you a chance to do it here, and we're going to talk about it. So it's really fun to do in a group and then share these ideas together. Okay, so that's the one we're going to do. So first, the creative flywheel. I want to point out that when we think our brain is overwhelmed by so many ideas, often it's really only part of our brain that is overwhelmed, and that is the left brain. Why is that? Because the left brain is the one that wants to put order into everything, wants to keep everything in order. So the right brain, as V. Ramachandran says, is the anomaly detector. We see creativity, we see uniqueness, we see deviations, and that's why we're so creative, right? We have this sensitivity to anomaly and new novelty and new things. Then the left brain wants to put it all in order. So it is in denial. And in fact, there is a syndrome where it's called neglect, where if part of your brain, your parietal lobe is damaged, then you can't see things on the left side. And so in fact, they will, even if you think that, that person, they say they can't see anything on the left side and you put a light over here, that person would not see that light. But if they're like an arm was paralyzed, on left side paralyzed, they may even be in denial, or their brain is in denial that they're in paralysis. So this is a very interesting concept. It's from a book by Ramachandran called A Brief Guide or A Brief Tour of Human Consciousness. It's in the books that I put up there. But really interesting. So what happens is your right brain sees all the anomalies. Your left brain wants to put them in order. It wants to categorize and count. And if there's something wrong, like something being paralyzed, it will be in denial. So this is where we are in denial. If things fall out of order, we can be in denial about it. Like if our money's messed up or there's a relationship situation messed up in our lives, or, conspiracy theories, right? We tend to be in denial about actuality. So our left brain helps us believe things that stay in order, which is really fascinating, I think. It wants to smooth it over, say nothing to see here, everything's in order. Okay, so I just want to bring that up because, one, when you get overwhelmed by ideas, know that your brain is working. your brain is trying to keep order while your other side of your brain has all these ideas, and sometimes they're in conflict. But how to deal with all the ideas? First, let your brain do its job. Okay, so it's like a beehive. The queen is the right brain. The queen is not like the workers, right? The workers are putting things in order. They're making honey. They're doing that action, right? The action. And the left side, only does does all this work, while the right side is actually creating and just sort of sitting in one place and just seeing these anomalies and just creating. So I like to think of my hive brain as that, in a sense. Okay, so we're trying to let each side of our brain do the work. So when you feel creative, do that. When you feel like you want to put things in order, do that. Just be aware that this is how your brain works. Okay, so this is the idea of the green room. All right, so the green room is the idea of our ideas being in three places. On stage, so when you have an idea or a piece of art, a painting, a business idea, an offer that you're putting out into the world, that's on stage. This is your work in a gallery. This is your Instagram posts. These things have been sort of taken through your idea system and your creative flywheel, which I'll get to in a minute, and then they are on stage. Now, I like to think of the on stage as being that earth, that wood, that growth. It's out there in the world. You're building relationships with people. Backstage is just getting to go on. You have a plan, you know your lines, right? You're standing just off stage before you're ready to put it out into the world. You have a body of work. You know what 10 paintings you're putting into a show. You know how you're going to, write a press release. All of those things, you know what you're going to do, what your plan is. You're going to put 3 Instagram posts out before your show. Okay, so that's off backstage. And then there's the green room. Now, the green room, traditionally in theater, is the idea that people that are getting ready to go on stage will go and wait in the green room. This is where you've already got your makeup on. Maybe some green rooms also do the makeup, but you're sitting there, you're getting ready to go to the backstage area. So this green room doesn't look all that pretty, but I've been in green rooms like this, and it's where the actors hang out. It's where people kind of have fun and joke. It's where you run your lines with someone, and it's where you just get your head on straight and get your ideas going. But this green room, I would rather have look like this green room. This is a famous green room in Italy. So this is throughout the theater world. This is I think in Madrid, the Teatro Milan or Madrid, Milan. And of course, it's a gorgeous place, but I love how they make them all green. This one is from the Academy Awards. This is the entrance to the green room for the 2023 Academy Awards. And this is where you'd sit and, there's a snack table. And what I want you, and, you sit and talk to people, or you just sort of like sit and meditate and get ready, get your nerves calmed down before you go on. So what I want you to think about the green room, it as when you have ideas, when you think about sort of all these ideas that come to you, and I've never really met an artist that didn't have, a ton of ideas, right? You're not sitting around going, oh, what should I do? It's more, oh my gosh, I have so many ideas, I'm overwhelmed. Okay, so if you put your idea like it's a baby or it's a young actor, and you say, okay, sit over here in the green room. Just go in, and you can even have a list. I have a list of green room ideas. This idea may, be something that comes up next spring or next summer or after I finish this show. Then I'll think about that. Okay, so the idea is that you don't have to be overwhelmed by your ideas, that you get to decide that you are not overwhelmed. I'm going to make a decision not to be indulge in the emotion of overwhelm. Okay. And we can make this decision at any point. We can say to our brain, I've decided that I'm not going to be overwhelmed. I'm going to try to calm my, my nerves and manage those ideas by putting some of them in the green room. So ideas can sit there in that beautiful space that you can imagine them in, green velvet couches, percolate and grow. And this is a concept that I love that came out of my own process, again, too, is complexify to simplify. Because I love to get a lot of information, as I know some of you do. You like information, so you get a lot of information. And then over time, your ideas become more simple and easier. And then you can really present them to the world. Okay, so that's the idea of the green room. Now, this one, sorry about that movement there. This is the commitment scale. And this is how you deal with your ideas as it goes into this concept of the flywheel, okay? So we have an idea, we have an intention, or we have an attempt. Some people just go into the studio and start making things, start painting. They don't know what they're actually going to make until they're in the process of it. That is what we call the Kolbe quick start. The Kolbe test is what I give all of my students, all of my, my clients, to really help us understand how we work better. A lot of artists are quick starts. That means that we dive into projects. We don't worry about the risks. Some people are more fact finders. They like to find the information first. Some people like systems and they like to do things in a certain way and do it the same way all the time. And then some people like objects, like if you're a woodworker, you like that tool, the tools, and you have to have all the right tools, and you work with a material until it's perfect, and you discover as you go. So the idea of the commitment scale is often we have an idea or we dive in and then we get this idea, we have an intention, we try it out, and then we often fail and learn, fail and learn, fail and learn. And then we perfect it or get it to be a better, it comes out of the green room, then we commit and we really go on stage with it. Okay, so this is kind of what I call the creative flywheel. So first, and the thing is, you can come into this wherever you are. So for me, I'm an idea person. I love how I work my flywheel is I read and I get ideas in the morning. I write it down, then it percolates in my green room. Sometimes I'll put ideas away or I'll just put them on cards. And then I'll go into the studio and I'll start working. And so I bring it into, the earth, the world. Then I start thinking about it. And then I get a system and I help bring it into the real world. And I say, okay, now I'm going to make this painting. Other people like the information first. Some people work with the systems first. So wherever you kind of jump onto this flywheel, that's what works for you. Okay, so again, I'm going to show you for myself and my Kolbe, the way I work, my co-native abilities. I am a quick start. I dive in, I'm good with innovation, and then I go to Fact Finder, I research, and then I go to the follow through, the systems, and taking it out into the world. Now, where I need help are systems to keep me accountable, because I'm not big on the systems. I adapt. I'll do things all over the place and I'll adapt to where I am and actually doing the work. Because sometimes I can envision things, but then I have a lot of little, actors in my green room, but I need to bring those out into the backstage and then onto stage. So I want to make sure that that's flowing, that I'm not just leaving everybody in the green room. It gets too crowded in there and they start to fight, right? So you want to really keep your ideas flowing through all of these stages. So I hope this helps you through your creative process. Where are you in this? Are you a quick start? Do you like information? Do you need a system? Or do you need that tangible thing before you start working? Okay, so that's the idea of the creative flywheel. You can get on it and it can help motivate you and move you to the next stage if you start with the stage that works for you, works with your strengths. Okay, so I'm proud of myself. I've gotten through this information pretty quickly today. So we have the green room, we have the flywheel, and now I'm going to talk about ripple meditation and we'll do our exercise. And then I'd love to talk about all of this. So this is ripple meditation. Now, this idea came because I felt like I needed better ideas in my painting. Okay, I didn't know what to paint. I had all these ideas in the green room, right? I had all these disparate things, but I wanted to have more of a body of work. I had wanted to have more focused ideas. So I was listening to one of my coaches at an event, at a training. And this is where, of course, study and mentorship is important because you're here learning from me. I have coaches that I learn from. We have mentors, we have painting teachers, we have, and entrepreneurship teachers. We have all sorts of people that we learn from, and we can take their ideas and modify that for ourselves. So that's how this ripple meditation happened. So let me walk you through it. First, it's the idea of interference. So this was my mentor's idea. She said, what she has is one idea here, another idea here, and those ideas get together and they make an idea baby. Okay, so it's like a Venn diagram. And what I'm saying here is that I'm taking my mentor's wisdom of the idea baby concept, and I'm taking my own idea, I put it together, and when I put it together, I got this concept of ripple meditation. Okay, so this concept of interference, where two ripples move together and you get a new pattern, is really interesting because I see it as, a Venn diagram and two different ideas coming together. This is how light works. So color is basically a Venn diagram. We have light waves moving one direction, and we have the surface of something here. So the light waves hit the surface, and then part of those light waves are absorbed into the thing, and part of them bounce off. And what bounces back to our eyes, that's the color we see. So that's why when we kind of overlap all these colors here, the primary colors, and they have interference with each other, then we get the secondary colors, orange, purple, and green, and we get more colors. So all of the different colors are a matter of the wavelengths being absorbed, being bounced off, interfering, atmosphere, all of that. The atmospheric particles in the air reacting to each other. So interference creates new patterns. And I want you to think about this in terms of nature. All right, so this is, woodcut, or the idea of a shell, idea of, every growth pattern that we see out there. Things grow from the cellular level, the DNA, the cell's information, it grows from the inside out. And then we have the outside in. The outside is the pressure upon it, environmental pressures, the edges, the obstacles that keep things from growing, lack of nutrition, or harder cells on the outside of a tree that helps it, grow in one direction and not another one. So constraint creates form. This is the idea of the yin and yang. We need light, we need darkness, we need all those elements. And in order to have form, we need edges. So edges push in, the outside pushes in, and the inside pushes out. So I want you to think about that in terms of your own work. When we're creating an atmosphere in our studio and in our brain, we are creating this inner energy, right? Energy that's going out into the world. But we also have to create those constraints on ourselves to hold our ideas in the green room, to decide which ideas we're going to use, to say, I'm going to make a body of work that is 10 pieces, and then have that constraint to make them all look kind of similar, those kinds of things. I'm going to write a song that is, 3 stanzas long, or a poem that is 8 stanzas long. Write a sonnet is a love poem, and it has a very specific form, restraint, constraint that makes it a certain type of poem. And it makes it click and makes it work because of that form. So I really think that that's so important, this idea of interference and form coming together, inside hitting the outside. Okay, so also we think of the atmosphere in our business. So we need to have our own back for our business and think in terms of the nature of our business growing out, but also this empire mindset, like I am creating order in my world, and I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to sell original work. I'm not going to sell prints. I'm going to sell prints. I'm not going to sell NFTs, right? Certain things we already know. I'm going to have 2 shows this year. I'm not going to do the art fairs. I'm going to do the art fairs, but I'm not going to do this, right? So we need to sort of know how to operate in terms of ideas and constraint. Okay, so the ripple meditation works like this. What we do first is have the 2 pebbles, that we toss into our brain. So and this is where I would like to get some input in the chat before we do this, because it'll give some people ideas of how this works. Okay, so for instance, if I am going to create a new work of art, I want to think in terms of, okay, my idea is, I want to take the canvas off the wall. Okay, so the canvas comes off the wall. And so what does that mean? It means, I'm going to put it on a table. I'm going to create a paper canvas that's round, or I'm going to change the shape of the canvas or something like that. Okay, so that idea baby for me created a certain type of painting that I made that was actually a tube with light in the middle, and it was a painting. So my idea babies were painting and light, or painting and off the wall. So, but you can have completely different thought pebbles. Okay, so say you just want to randomly come up with some random ideas and talk about, complete juxtaposition of something totally new. So you could say a rock and a feather. Okay, so 2 totally different things. How ripple meditation works is you take those pebbles, those ideas, those thought pebbles, and you sit with those for a few minutes. Could be 5 minutes. I suggest 10 to 20 minutes. And you calm your mind, and then you drop one into your mind. So you think about the concept of stone, the concept of a rock. It's hard, it's round, it can be angular, it can be dark, it can be heavy. And then in your mind, you drop in the idea of a feather. The feather goes up. The feather is all about flight, about lightness, airiness. And then in your mind, you see what happens when the ripples of this idea of stone meet the ripples of this idea of feather. Okay, so as an example, I want you to write in the chat any thought pebbles or concepts that you've been thinking about. Like, have you been thinking about the color red? Have you been thinking about, vegetables? I don't know. Have you been thinking about light? Have you been thinking about trees? Have you been thinking about birds in your work? Have you been thinking about, there's so many things that we make our work about, right? Books, ideas, diagrams. One thing that I love to think about is diagrams. That's just how my brain works. So put in the chat, like, some of the ideas that you've been thinking about in your work. Shapes, squares, circles. What do artists make their work about? Okay, so here I'm starting to see a couple of things in the chat. Okay, cast shadows. Perfect. Yes, oh my gosh. So cast shadows would be one of your thought pebbles. Okay, then what else do we have? Dovecots. Oh my gosh, I saw this most gorgeous dovecote in Scotland. It's a, if you don't know, a dovecot is sort of a clay building, a building that is built on a property where, and it has all these little compartments where the doves fly in and they build their nests. So it's this beautiful, structure old properties and estates and in farms and things. So Anne says, dovecots, internal parts, mystical light. Three things together. I love it. Cast shadows, tic-tac-toe. Yes, Lauren, I know that you're thinking about tic-tac-toe and you're thinking about the grid, right? You're thinking about the grid and you're thinking about quilts. You're thinking about collage. You're also thinking about, the trickster or humor, right? So there's those two things, the tic-tac-toe and humor. That would be interesting to do a ripple meditation together. Trees and water and earth. Yeah, so water and earth, right? They're so opposite, but they support each other. So that's a really interesting one. The center. Ooh, I like that idea. What is center, right? Center in terms, and then how does it butt up against something else? Okay, good. Like peach blossoms. Oh my gosh. Yes, peach blossoms. What a beautiful thought pebble. So when you drop that into your mind, we get beauty, we get color, we get these pale colors, gentleness, um, you know, just peachy, soft colors. And then you could drop another thought pebble in that was maybe something very different than that. And then what happens in your meditation is you see how they overlap. You get new ideas that come together. Okay, are you sort of starting to think, to understand, how this works? I see erosion. Yes. Oh my gosh. Rebecca, that's a great one. So these thought pebbles can be anything. They can be a big concept like erosion. They can be a tiny thing like peach blossoms, right? And I can't dictate how your brain is going to work with these things. What I want to do today is just a really quick, I'm going to set my timer for 3 minutes, a really quick 3-minute ripple meditation. Okay. So for you going forward, you do, maybe 10 or 20 minutes. Have your journal right to your side. Sometimes I open it up to a page with my pen. I sit in a quiet place and I have my journal there in case I really want to draw or write anything down. Or I just do the meditation and then after it, I catch those ideas. And then you have your 2 thought pebbles. Okay, so let's try it. We're going to do a 3-minute ripple meditation. And then, after you do this later on today, let your brain work on it, right? Put those ideas into your green room and let that kind of percolate. You can sketch, you can write about it, you can just let it sit. And then I encourage you and I challenge you to take that ripple meditation, take that new idea and go make something new, a painting, a drawing, a collage, write something out for your business, write a new blog post, write a new idea for making a new series of Instagram posts or a video about your work or your process, okay? So take that ripple meditation and make something new. And let's do this now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just set the timer for 3 minutes. And I'm so proud of myself. We're actually on schedule. Okay, good. I'm going to set it for 3 minutes. So what you do on the 3 minutes is take 1 thought pebble. We're going to close our eyes. I'm going to walk you through the beginning part of it. Okay. So I'm going to kind of calm us down and set the stage with your eyes closed. And then you have your 2 thought pebbles that you will drop in to your pond and sit with for 3 minutes and just see what comes up. Okay, see what rises from that. Okay, so let's prepare for this. So everyone, start by taking a deep breath. Start by closing your eyes and just having a moment of calm. Take the deep breath and let it out. Take another deep breath and let it out. Let your body settle. Let your mind calm down. With your eyes closed, I want you to picture yourself on a shore of a lake, a very calm lake. Just little waves, little movement at the edge of the shore, lapping, just a calm day, beautiful sun. The water is still. Once in a while, just a little bit of a riffle of wind, a breeze crosses the water and creates a ripple. And in your hand, you have two pebbles. I want you to take one pebble in your left hand and one pebble in your right hand. And just feel those pebbles. And think about what happens when those pebbles are, they've taken all of this time to become pebbles. They started out as metal, as lava, and then metal, and then earth, as stone, then boulder, maybe a mountain. And that pebble got broken away. It got broken off, and then it started to erode and soften with rain and other sand around it. And eventually it became this beautiful little stone. And that stone in each one of your hands is an idea. So that idea has a name, has one word. I'd like you to give each one of your pebbles a thought, an idea. And for the next 3 minutes, first toss one pebble in and watch that thought, watch those ideas ripple out. And then toss the other pebble in and see how those two ideas interact. Watch your mind and see what comes up. Now I will set the timer for 3 minutes. Okay, so now please raise your hand if you'd like to share. I'm going to change this idea of the screen down here and not share my screen. Hold on just a second. Okay. All right. So who would like to share? You can just raise your hand or and unmute yourself. Anyone? Be brave. What came up for you? Lauren. Oh, Marsha. Marsha, go ahead.
Hi. So my main business is life coaching, but I have an art project that's Dharma bookmarks. And it's from April 2023. And I did the first one and I looked online at photographs of blossoms and I drew my own blossom. And so at the bottom of the bookmark, which has two sides, two different quotes on it. It says, design and illustration, Marcia Girardi. So then I wanted to do a new stanza, second bookmark, and I wanted a peach blossom. So I found a beautiful, because I studied Japanese sumi-e ink painting in Japan when I lived there. Um, and so it was a beautiful sumi-e peach blossom. And I thought, oh, that's what I want for this next one. And then I thought, well, that's just perfect. I should just use that. That's perfect. But I really didn't want the bottom to say design Marcia Girardi. I wanted it to say design and illustration. I wanted to do my own illustration, but I thought I can't do one as beautiful as that. So what came up just now was, no, I can't do that exact one. I mean, maybe mine will be better, maybe it'll be worse, but it'll be different. And just coming to terms with, the insecurity and the imperfection is always where I get stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And you know that this is a really fascinating part, I think, of the ripple meditation too, because often when we let our minds go and we start to like just have free association and free ideas, the left brain's going to come in and go, "Oh no, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're breaking out, right? Your things should be in order. Stop like getting ideas. Stop being such a free spirit. Stop thinking
Mm,
you can do things. I want you to be on the couch, safe in your cave, watching TV. Okay, that's what I want, right? Your left brain wants order.
mm,
So remember that. So every time those thoughts come up and go, oh, it won't be as good, or it won't be as pretty, or it won't be this or that, that's just your left brain saying, deny, deny, deny.
yeah.
So then you can basically sort of tell your brain, decide not to be overwhelmed and say, the worst thing that can happen to me right now with this situation is an emotion. Okay, those emotions feel so important, they feel so dramatic, and they feel so hard. They feel so painful. When I get an idea and I think, oh my gosh, that's not going to be as good as this person or that person, or why should I even try? That pain is so strong.
Hmm.
That's what we have to just watch that pain float by, okay, and go, bye. This too shall pass. It's just an emotion. Okay.
Mm,
So when that emotion passes in your meditation, like we do meditation, the Zen Buddhists suggest that we kind of sort of sit on the coast on the shore and watch our thoughts go by.
Mhm.
When you feel that emotion, when you hear that thought, when you hear your left brain talking to you, just wave to it like it's a sailor, some beautiful, handsome sailor out on this ship, on this sailboat. I could never be on that boat with that sailor,
Mm,
right? And just
mm,
say, have a great day, beautiful, be yourself. I'm going to sit here with my great ideas and I'm going to try it anyway. I'm going to try and fail, try and fail. That is what life is all about.
mm, mhm,
My
mhm.
ideas may never be, in the Museum of of Modern Art, but it doesn't matter to me because I want to live the life of an artist. That's what matters to me.
Mhm.
Okay. And when I let my brain rule and say, oh, you're not an artist, or oh, I can't do this, it's getting in the way of me living my life that I want to live. So I need to say, go away.
Yeah, that's the work.
Right? That's it. Great, Marcia. Thank you so much. So I want to see those peach blossoms. I want to see you make 100 peach blossoms. A tree doesn't have just one perfect peach blossom. It has a
Mm,
billion just in case some of them fail. Right?
mm, mhm.
You
Yep.
know? And what happens is, and this is so interesting in terms of this idea, baby, in Ripple meditation, in when they create these beautiful, huge peaches in Japan, as you may know, what they do
Mm.
is they go to the trees and they take off most of the blossoms. It's called blossoming.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it ironically, when a tree blossoms, this is what it does. But when you
Mm,
blossom a tree, you cut off all the blossoms. So it's the opposite. It's one of those, opposite words that mean the opposite. The same word means the opposite of itself. It's blossoming, but it's also cutting off blossoms. So
Why
the
did
blossoms can grow. And so this is what we do. We take the blossom and we put it in the green room,
mm,
let it grow. And we take some of the ideas that maybe, they're not the greatest or we don't want to pursue or whatever, we cut those away and we give room for that one idea to grow and blossom. We encourage it, we water it, we give it the sun and the nutrition.
mhm,
Okay,
mhm.
so if you make 100 blossoms, you practice that art, you're going to come up with one of them that you can let grow on your bookmark. Okay,
That's well, thank you. Yeah.
all right, okay, good. Who wants to share next? Thanks, Marcia.
Thank you.
I know there's somebody out there that wants to be brave and share.
I'll say a few things.
Okay, Anne, I would love to hear. I know it's not, I don't know if it's about dovecots, but I love that idea. But go ahead.
It is about dovecots.
Okay, tell us.
Well, my work has had a lot of, they look like towers. I don't really know what they are. It comes through all the time in my work.
Mm,
And this year I was in France on holiday and we stayed in an Airbnb that was a dovecot, an old dovecot, converted obviously. And it was fantastic. I'd never seen the inside of a dovecot.
wow.
And it was just beautiful with all of these places for the doves. There were no doves there, unfortunately, but it was really lovely. And so this in the meditation, I kind of so my work is very like the tower structures are very on the from the outside, but in this meditation, I saw the dovecot from the inside,
Wow.
and so the two pebbles were dovecots and light. So I saw just amazing flying of doves in this structure, but with light and color, and it was really beautiful. You know,
Mm.
so I've set myself a task now. That's it's really nice, though. So
Oh,
thank you.
you're welcome. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, how they fly around and there's a hole,
Yeah,
some light coming in and it's shining. Like,
yeah. So through the holes, through all the
yeah,
dovecots, there was light, and but it was all colored in ways, and the wings were all overlapping. So it was quite abstract, but
yeah.
also a bit representational too. So yeah,
Wow.
very beautiful. So I've already started collecting some images I'm finding here on online of it, to remind me of this feeling of like flight with feathers. That's like moving of feathers and wings against something very static and very stable and patterned. like
Right.
the windows of the dovecot. So it's that contrast that I really like. I really like that. So
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, and you know, Lauren, thinking of Lauren's grids, it's a grid, like it's these little holes, these boxes, or
yeah,
depending on how it's made, they're made lots of different ways. But
yeah.
yeah, and
And also there are
birds, right? Earth
yeah, and
and
the
air,
birds.
you know.
And
Yeah.
the birds are so very different to the structure that they're actually housed in. They're so like their feathers and their wings are so different, you know. So those two things are really, I like that contrast very much.
That's so great. It's, you know, and it is where, and I was reading this morning in
Oh,
my,
you
my
froze then.
reading, one of the interesting things that Ramachandran says about the brain, and he calls this um peak experience and this or peak shift. The idea that we see they trained rats, right, to see put food on a square. So when they see the square, they saw no, they didn't put food on the square, they put food on a rectangle. So you know they're not that different, right? Square, rectangle. But they put food with the rectangle. So the rats would know that the rectangle would give them food. And so then they created a skinnier rectangle to see if they would recognize it, you know, like they had the rectangle and then they made it skinnier. And they did. And in fact, they went even more to that one. So it's really interesting to, they call it peak shift, where, you know, this is why in our work, these say this piece right here, which is Toulouse-Lautrec. This black form, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like a black form of, you know, it's a poster. Sorry about the light, but this woman is in a theater and she's in this black dress. It's very simple, simplified form. And again, with the Japanese sumie ink, right? The French were very influenced by the Japanese ink and the Japanese prints because they were so simplified. Our eyes love the peak shift. This is just, it's not realism, right? It's not a real dress. It's like going from that rectangle to a skinnier rectangle. It's abstracting it. It's going to this next level of something more simplified or more exaggerated or more intensified, that our brains latch onto that. That's the anomaly detector. Our brains want something that's a little bit different. So that's this idea of peak shift. When you're thinking about some of these simple ideas, the dovecoat, the squares, and the wings, then your brain goes to work on it and makes this like sort of beautiful abstracted image out of it. So I love that. Okay, wonderful. Lauren.
I took it over a little bit past the 3 minutes. What I noticed is that I got the essential idea, and then I needed to start drawing a little bit and see, kind of feel where that went. And so the initial arrival was to notice, when I rippled, centers and tic-tac-toe, I found myself overlaying a target over the top of the tic-tac-toe pattern, and that started to look like a wheel. And then, the Hollywood squares came in, and now it's like, well, if it's a Ferris wheel, it must be a carnival. And if it's a carnival, then we're starting again to look at, the illusion of winning, the midway games that give the come on, the expectation of
Yeah, the
winning
hawker,
something.
the guy that's saying, come on, you'll win, like at the
Mhm.
carnival, the carnival hawker.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, Lauren's work is a lot about like 1950s vintage advertising and things like that. So messaging and propaganda and,
Mhm.
around that. So that's really interesting. I mean, yeah, who knows where this will go, right? It just kind of starts up something new. I wanted to mention, do you know the painter Max Beckmann?
Yes.
He painted the circus, right? And also, I'm trying to think of the other one who painted the flying horses and things. Chagall, Marc Chagall. and this idea of the circus and like all these masks, and he loved masquerade parties and all of that. Like after the ripple meditation, often what I will do is when I have some idea coming up, I will go to another artist, not to copy him or anything, but we learn from looking at the way they handled a certain topic or a certain subject matter. So
Mhm.
for Max Beckman, I look at his brushwork, I look at his color, I look at how he has his figures, they're like twisted around, and they're like diving over each other, one's big, one's small, his scale, and just these really interesting ways of working with this concept of the carnival and the circus to make it feel like a a strange space on the surface of the canvas.
Mhm.
And that's always something to do after the ripple meditation, like go to look at some different artists to get that inspiration too. I love that, Lauren. Yeah, that's a new direction.
Mhm. Definitely.
Yeah, fun. Okay. Would anyone else like to share? Okay. Um, Judy, did you raise your hand? Okay, sorry. I will unmute you then. Sorry, I thought you can unmute yourself, I think.
Yeah,
There,
I just had trouble with the,
that's okay. Yeah. It's Zoom. Um,
well, in my hands, I had the pebbles and I threw one of them said home and the other one said growth because my original thing was trees and water and earth. So, and I work a lot with those themes in my art. So, from when I was thinking about it, I was thinking, well, what do they have in common? So with like water and earth, I was thinking that they have um home is very much a place. The water is a home for all the animals and the wildlife, and the earth too is a home for the plants and the trees and the same thing, the plants and the water and where they build their homes. And then I started thinking about I don't know why that's why I had growth in the other hand. And I started thinking about, well, what are some of the homes that I could think of? And then I said, well, beaver dam, a coral reef, seaweed, deck and barnacles, a raft or a boat. Then I started thinking about contrasts. I said, well, I was thinking about the Venn diagram, and I was thinking, well, maybe I would put two different things because I was thinking about similar things before.
mhm.
So what could I put that's different? And then I said, well, the home, I find there's a lot of pollution in the homes, and then the growth is when you clean it up and you can grow.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
what I
yeah.
got. That's
Wow.
what I got.
Well, I love to see how your mind was working for first find the similarities and then find the opposite, find the differences in that meditation
Mhm.
process. That's great. Um, that really works. Cool. Well, thank you. Rebecca, you're raising your hand. I'm going to unmute you. Um, sorry, I didn't see that
Hello.
before. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
No, I was just getting some help in the chat. I could not find out where to raise my hand since the last time Zoom had updated. I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
Apparently it was just invisible for a little while.
But under the actual heart, they react.
Yeah, I found it now. I found it.
Good. Well, thank you,
So-
Judy, so much. That was awesome. And I had a feeling that, yeah, Rebecca, please go. Please tell us what you
Okay.
had here.
So as I had initially suggested in the chat, I had said erosion and cast shadows. I do acrylic painting, and on one hand, I'm very interested in doing landscapes and coastal landscapes. And on the other hand, I've been playing a bit with some still lifes with the cast shadow, like almost backlit, where the cast shadow was almost the subject rather than the objects. So it's two completely different ways that I've been kind of pulled in, and trying to think how to joined those together.
Hmm.
And I was thinking about how they both have a state of impermanence. It's a temporal
Mm.
state. It's not going to be the same when you go back
Yeah.
later. And
Yeah, impermanence for sure. It's
yeah,
flowing. It's like always
and
moving or flowing.
particularly in I live close to the south shore of Prince Edward Island. So
Hmm.
with the south shore, that means the sun is usually across the water. And so everything is ramped up. So you don't actually get much cast shadow, really. You get a lot of form shadows, but not the cast shadows as much on these beaches that I live close to.
Mm-hmm.
So then started thinking about like if the cliff erodes and some new large rocks fall down, and how the tide coming up around them kind of scoops the sand away
Mm-hmm.
and creates these temporary tide pools that might not be there again the next day. So not quite a light shadow, but the way it's sheltered or intensifies the effect of the erosion.
Right, almost like a water shadow.
Exactly. So then I
Yeah.
started thinking about like wind shadows and how like a piece of driftwood, depending on how the wind is blowing, the sand might accumulate up on one side of it
Mhm.
and start, a small dune, or at least more sand will accumulate in that area because of the objects that are there blocking the wind and capturing the sand.
Oh, for sure. And
So
I know on
yeah,
the
I've got a lot of really interesting ideas. I made
yeah,
quite a few notes there about things that I could explore.
I love that.
Um,
Well, and it's interesting because the shadow, we think of it, especially like when you think of Jung, right? The Jungian shadow self.
mhm,
It is so, we think of shadows as so fleeting and just impermanent. And, in Zen Buddhism, like the self, the self is impermanent, is always changing. But when you think of that in terms of like the shadow being, moved by the sun and moved by the wind and moved by the water, it's impermanent, but at the same time, that Jungian shadow self is always there, right?
mhm,
It's the dark, strong self that's always there
yeah,
that we're in a sense trying to get rid of, or
mhm,
not get rid of,
yeah,
but like understand. And, so it's like in an interesting combination of this like impermanence and permanence, like your
mhm,
shadow, if there's sun, is always going to be with you. It's attached at your feet. You can't get rid of it. And so I love that you're thinking in terms of earth and light, and water and these things like they're impermanent, but they're permanent,
mhm,
you
yep.
know? Yeah, really, really interesting. This is the kind of stuff I like to think about too. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, okay,
And
so we are
just
coming
one
up.
extra thought that
Yeah,
occurred to me is that the main cast shadow when I go to the beach is my own.
yeah, for
Everything
sure.
else is kind of ramped up away from the sun, so there's not much except for me standing at the edge of the water, casting
Yeah,
that shadow up the beach. So
yeah.
there's a
And it can
whole
be very
whole bucket of
long or
ideas with that as well.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
It can change. It can be very long or short, and
Yeah.
all.
Yep.
Yeah, so interesting. Okay, I'm going to share my screen just to end here. And then let's see. Okay, I think I had a couple of slides left, and one of them was things that are not a waste of time. Thinking, curiosity, interest, your own ideas, and letting them grow. Your feelings. Your feelings are your drive and your motivation, right? Feeling love, feeling meaning, feeling things that you want to feel as an artist, feeling difficult feelings and getting through them and getting past them. And those drive our actions, right? The motion and the evolution of our actions will help us grow. So I just want you to, for sure, embrace this process, that this is the important core of everything you do, your ideas and how you're cultivating them and taking care of them. So again, I love to kind of think of, that four hats and how I'm gonna like moving my ideas into a plan and moving them out into the world. It really is important to me as I try to create a body of work or as I try to grow my art and business practice. So that, again, this creator hat, what body of work I'm going to make. I'm going to cultivate those ideas, and then I'm going to build themes and ideas. I'm going to maybe create one piece and build other pieces around it. Maybe I'm going to create something in a different media to connect to that idea. Maybe I'm going to create a theme and then a larger piece to go with it. And maybe I'm going to create one realist piece, and then I'm going to create a series of abstract pieces on the same concept. And maybe I'm going to do the same idea with different color palettes or different materials. So those are also ways that you can take that idea and expand it into the world. And I want to end with this quote from one of my mentors and coaches, William Blake, the 18th century poet. He says, "I must create a system or be enslaved by another man's. I will not reason and compare. My business is to create." So that is what the creator hat must protect: our time, protect our space, protect these ideas, take care of them. And when they're ready, put them on stage, let the leader, let the operator take them and run with them, okay? Then be in a different space where you can move them out into the world. But always protect that space and time and process for yourself. Okay, I'm just gonna end by saying thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you as artists, and your creative process really inspires me as well. Okay, so I'm going to end the recording. If you want to stay on and chat for a second, feel free. So we'll see you next time.